It happened. So the battery will probably have to be retired and a new one put in place. So, but or we can just always be a little late to start and a little late to get down again. It's good to be here. It's good to see no one got blown away yesterday. That wind was, wow, it was impressive. You just getting back. I see yesterday during data, they had one of the balloons where you put a message in it and see how far it goes. Some of the churches, I know a church in Georgia that we would visit quite often, have our friends there. They would always, before their VBS, they would put, they'd send off balloons, put little notes in them, and a little card that said, this is from, anywhere. And the thing that would amaze you is not just how far someone would go, because some of them would wind up in, I know they had one that was in somewhere in Mississippi, and this is, of course it is western Georgia, but still went through the whole state. But the thing is, not only did it wind there, but how long it took it to get there. It was probably about a month and a half later that they called and said, oh, we got this card, this balloon, and so it would be interesting. And the thing is, the wind was going the other direction. So how it wound up, it just get up into the upper air, and it just kind of be some. But anyway, so it is interesting. Good evening, y'all. Got a class just for you. I don't know. I think maybe the clock's just been sabotaged, and that way people that normally think they're coming in late, they can say, hey, look here, I'm too early. Okay, we're studying the book of Judges. But before I talked to Katie a little bit. Katie's in the classroom, and talked to her just a little bit before services about Rick. Rick is, of course, you get Facebook, you probably got most of that day for us. He's got to go 4 more weeks without any pressure on his ankle. So basically, he's where the recovery will be as far as, and so they're kind of in a unknown as far as because there's no guarantee he'll get foot pressure in 4 weeks. So it's just a wait and see type thing. But I think she said maybe possible that they may try to go December to God instead of the summer. I think that might be a more realistic goal at this point in time. Vicky has bronchitis, and I think Rita does too. So they're both sick. And Johnny Sue's been diagnosed with bronchitis, so we still have several that are sick and about. You got any food in there?
Sorry.
Oh, well. But anyway, so just keep the Hope and Libby family in your prayers, and sickness and other things. And I can just imagine that's I more than imagine. I mean, Haley went through that where when you can't put pressure on your ankle, it's an ordeal to do anything. Just the basic functions of life. And, you just want to be able to get up. Of course, there's pain involved. But anyway, good news is, it should heal. It's just a matter of, it may take a while. And I asked her if they give them a time frame. They haven't, which is typical of things like that. They did that with Haley's because, to be honest, they don't know. There's no way people can say. So everybody heals differently. And on something like that, it's just you go through the steps. I do have news on Izzy. Izzy, her brace is complete, but then it's scheduled because when she goes up there, she's got to meet with the orthotic company that made the brace. They've got to fit it and make sure she knows how to put it on. We put it on, take it off, and make sure it fits her just right. I imagine there's some few adjustments they can do to it at the shop there. And then the same day, you've got to go to the children's hospital, and they've got to take x-rays, and they've got to do their thing. And so you've got to coordinate not only their office, you've got to coordinate it. And so we was hoping that would happen soon, but it'll be March the 27th before we get to go to take Izzy to get her brace and get that fitted. The orthopedic surgeon that's her doctor at the children's is going to be off for spring break, I guess with his kids, and so he wasn't going to be there next week or week after when it was, so it'll be the 27th. So just keep her in your prayers, and hopefully that'll get done, and we'll see how that works. And then anybody else that we need to make mention of in our prayers? Well, yeah, well, yeah. That's hard to believe. Yeah, I think I saw a post today, like Boston, they're going to get, I think, somewhere between 6 to 12 inches of snow, and some of them got worse than that. I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for warm, sunny weather. A little bit of sunshine. Seems like we've had a little bit, but not. Anything else? Anybody else need to mention our prayers? Yes.
I did not. Just walked in. My granddaughter has the flu.
Oh. That's it's always flu is never a good thing, but the younger and the older, those are the ones you got to take it seriously. They can linger for a long time. Anything else? That's a good list. Let's go and have a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much this evening. We thank you so much for all those that are here tonight, desire to learn more from your word. We've mentioned so many tonight on our prayer list. We ask you to continue to be with them. We especially want you to be with the Liberty family. And we be with them and comfort them, and Lord, we love them dearly and miss them when they're not here. We ask that you be with Julie's brother as flu. We know so many that have flu or bronchitis or similar things. Continue to be with them, and may the flu and cold season be over soon, and may we begin the next part of this cycle of weather in this where we live. Lord, may be that be and reach out and more, that more can attend our services. We pray that you be the congregation here and help us to grow, strengthen us, be with our elders. In Christ's name we pray. What about Don Sloan? You want to have an update on Ruby's stuff?
The report in Brady's class yesterday was that he had been put on a swing bed at the hospital.
What does that mean?
Which means that
Typical insurance days are run out and they put it on a lifetime allotment. Swing bed, you have a lifetime allotment stays in the hospital. And they call it swing bed. Category.
It's not quite as there as you would get. Ruby told me yesterday that he might get come home on Friday, but
Okay.
he's not sure.
My son Adam was in the hospital.
Oh, not the nurse time she actually sent her. Does anyone know if she's still there?
In the wheelchair.
Okay, so then there's that's a well, like I say, seems like we've got more than our share right now. And like I say, maybe as the weather improves, maybe we'll get to where that won't be the case. Studying the book of Judges, and we've looked at many. I think it's interesting in the Judges because things repeat so much. And I've talked a lot about Ted Burleson, a preacher that a good friend of mine that he was a preacher at church where Heidi and I first met. And Ted, of course, he teaches at Amridge down on Hollywood Heritage, and his son's one of the main Bible instructors, professors at Free Hardman. But Ted used to, when we was there at West 7th in Columbia, the church there dates back to 1830. That's a good way back. Think about what this country was like in 1830. But anyway, the church there dates back to 1830. It was began that they had some a few isolated Christians, but in earnest it was began when Alexander Campbell, some of you know anything about the Restoration Movement, that name is a pretty a famous name, but anyway, Alexander Campbell did about a 2 or 3 week long meeting, and that is in essence the origin of the church. And they had several baptisms, and so the church in Columbia has been strong ever since then. In fact, in Murray County, I think 1 out of every 10 persons lives in the county. They have about, I think, 70 or 80,000 people live in the county, and 1 out of every 10 are a member of the church. So they have several large churches, but West Ed's one of them. But anyway, one thing that's neat is since they have been a congregation since the 1830s, and I think they've had elders since somewhere in the 1830s to 1840s, somewhere in that range. And so they have had elders and deacons meetings since, somewhere in that time frame. And they had a record book log of each and every meeting that they've held since the late 1830s, 1840 time frame until current time. And so every now and then Ted said he would just dig out some of their journals or records of the meeting. He'd read through what issues they were dealing with. And as much as we like to think things change and whatever, he said it's amazing that a lot of the issues we deal with are issues they dealt with on a regular basis. And so, it would be cyclical, for example, things like, to our amazement, to many of us, instrumental music has become debated again in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that's about to die out because the ones that are going that route have kind of pretty much split off. But once again, that has been an issue in, just about every 3, 4, 5 decades, it seems to pop itself back up. Things, all kinds of things, such as, qualification for elders, how that they don't have enough men to do this, or they, don't have Bible class teachers, or, you would think that maybe is a current phenomenon, but yet some of those things would be things that, come up here or there. And so it is interesting that, things don't change. You would hope that maybe we'd learn from our mistakes, but it doesn't seem to be the way we as humans operate sometimes. And if anything, the book of Judges tell you is people don't learn at all from those things. Anyway, the judges we've had. Othniel. What was significant about Othniel? Okay, Caleb's son-in-law, Caleb's brother. Both is correct. What tribe was he from? Judah. Ehud. What was interesting about Ehud? Left-handed. Likely he may have been ambidextrous. What tribe was he from? Benjamin. And we'll see later in the book of Judges that was apparently a common trait with those from Benjamin. Shamgar. What do we know about Shamgar? Not much. We don't know what tribe he's from. Don't know very little. In fact, there's only one verse that talks about him before Deborah. Then after Deborah writes about him in one verse of the Psalm. And basically all that is said there is that the highways were not saved. So he wasn't a very effective judge no matter what. Deborah. What do we know about Deborah? What is different about her? A woman. Again, and she's a prophetess too. So those two things. Why is Barak generally linked to her? What was Barak? He was general. Okay. Gideon. What do we know about Gideon? What tribe was he from? Manasseh. Now, it's interesting that Manasseh has a lot of the judges come from the tribe of Manasseh. But anyway, so Gideon is from Manasseh. He was renamed. Anybody remember what he was named? I guess his nickname people started calling him? Zerubbabel. Yes. What an army did he start off with? He started off with a big army. God told him he got that army. Those that were what? Afraid. And so it knocked it down to 10,000. Now, bear in mind that the army of the Midnights was somewhere around 120,000. So, the odds are getting a lot worse for the big guys. And then, they went down to the creek or the river and basically, how they drunk. And of course, 9,700 of them, did like I would probably do. It seems like you get more water that way. Kind of kneel down and cup it a little bit, drink it like that. That's probably what I would do, but that wasn't the ones that were chosen. 300 of them got down like a dog and lapped it up. It was those that he chose. But I just curiosity, how many would have done it like a dog? How many would have lapped it up like a dog? You would have done it that way? Interesting. Well, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. It just would have been more natural to me to go on my knees and just cupped it up. Yes.
You have to be able to get down.
Well, but the problem is, if you have a problem with that, though, I can just imagine if you got down prostrate, getting back up from there too would have been kind of an adventure too. I don't think it was. I think it was the younger people who probably. Yes. But even younger, I don't think I would have done it that way. I think I would have kept it up. This seems more natural to me. But anyway, whatever. Who is Abimelech? Son of Gideon. Did he have brothers? Yes. Did he get along with his brothers? No, I killed them. So, yes.
We need to straighten something up here.
Uh-huh.
The number of those who lapped,
Mm-hmm.
putting their hand in their mouth was 300 men.
Mm-hmm.
But all the rest of the people kneeled to drink water.
Yeah, kneel. They kneel.
Those nails didn't get picked.
Right, the ones that kneel didn't know. That's what I'm saying.
The other way.
I'm sorry, I applied that. No, the ones that kneel, that's why I'm saying I would have done it that way. I would have done it that way because it seems more natural. But the ones that laughed are the ones, the 300 laughed.
They got their hand and lapped it up.
Well, I've read that ain't what they did because, now like I say, your translation may be a little different, but they didn't get on their knees. They actually got
prostrate. Hands in their mouth.
Well, they may have cupped it as they were down there, but they actually went prostrate. They actually went prostrate. Whereas the others got on their knees.
The rest got kneeled.
Yeah, they got down on their knees. And that's what I would have done on their knees. And that's the majority. The majority did it on their knees. Now, I don't know. People have speculated the rationale why God chose the ones that did it the way where they got down all the way, down flat on the water. And it's fine. People won't do that. But, it's really not really said why. I think the biggest thing was God wanted it to be clear that it was God who would lead them to victory and not the number of men. And so, and of course, I think probably Gideon probably figured this out somewhere. He realized, when he saw that 300 was doing it that way and that 9,700 were, doing, that God's going to use 300. It's pretty obvious which one God was going to give. But,
what verse is that in, Jim?
Huh?
What verse is that in?
Well, Judges, it's going to be somewhere in Judges 7. Yeah.
Verse 6, Judges 7:6.
But the biggest difference is there was those on the knee and those that actually got all the way down on the belly.
And of course, read that the other way. Those that got their hand in their mouth were the ones that up looking around.
Yeah.
Those kneeled down, they couldn't see around anymore.
Well, like I said, I think some of that's speculation. It may be.
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility, yes. And I'm not against speculation, but sometimes we can get carried away with speculation when really it's not conclusive why God chose it. Anyway, Abimelech wasn't a good guy. Abimelech, I include him, but different. He actually was son of a king, I guess, his mom, who was a concubine, not a wife of Gideon, was from Manasseh. So Abimelech was from Shechem, not Manasseh. Gideon was from Manasseh. Abimelech actually was from Shechem. His mom, that's where he lived and grew up. So I know they put him here on the tribe of Manasseh. And I guess if you go based on his dad, that would be correct. But his mom was not from there. So it is interesting. I would probably, on this little graphic here, they got that. I would probably put Ephraim and Manasseh because his mom was from Shechem. And so that's why the men of Shechem went with him. Of course, we know that Jotham, the one son, the youngest son of Gideon, was not killed and gave a curse, a warning to the men of Shechem, and yet they didn't really abide by it. And wound up, basically what winds up is they wind up in essence, killing each other off over about 3 years later. And God worked out justice for them. Tola and Jair, they're from Issachar, and it doesn't actually say Manasseh or Jair, but most people, from what I've read, they feel like it probably was Manasseh. He was what's called a Gileadite. If you have a map in your Bibles, I don't know if I got a map on the next one or not. You can see on the map there, Gilead was in essence anything that was east of the Jordan River that was part of Israel. And it was primarily the northeastern part that was north of the Jordan River. And so it really could be any of the tribes. You could be said you were a Gileadite if you were from Reuben, Gad, or Manasseh, East Manasseh, as opposed to West Manasseh. So anyway, it's not real specific. And I believe what you're going to see if you continue the historical track of this is you're going to start seeing a thing where tribe lines start to blur a little bit, at least in where people live. In other words, just because you may be, they would keep track of what tribe they're from, but not always did they, stay where the land allotment had over time. Anyway, that was told you. We always need to remember, in those days there were no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And of course, there we see the map. In Judges 10, just to read through this real quickly about Tola and Jair, there's not, once again, these are two judges, very little is written. Tola, it says, after Abimelech, there arose to save Israel, Tola, the son of Puah, son of Dodo, like that name, a man of Issachar. He lived in Shamir, the hill country of Ephraim. And like I said, just to point this out once again, he was a man of Issachar, but he actually lived in Ephraim. So I think that you're going to start seeing more and more of that historically as it came about. And so the land divisions started to kind of blur over time, but they still retained, took track of which tribe they was actually from. And he judged Israel 23 years, and he died and was buried in Shamir. Not a whole lot said about him. After him there arose Jair, the Gileadite, who judged Israel 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys. He was very successful, obviously, and had 30 cities and called Havoth to go pretty good. After Abimelech, the bad that Abimelech was, and then he's killed, and then apparently things were pretty good, really, in general. You had two judges, and not much is mentioned about oppression, not much is mentioned about them falling away during those times. Oh, but once again, that cycle repeats. Now, as we read this, and we'll pretty much just be able to get through this, and we'll talk about it more next week in detail, but I want you to compare Abimelech to Jephthah. What are some things we could say about Abimelech? Abimelech wasn't, he was, I guess, some people would call it illegitimate. The old word that was used was bastard or whatever, but, that has a stigma to it, does it not? And a lot of way Abimelech wound up being, killing his brothers and wanting to rule and other things, had a direct bearing on the fact that he wasn't even raised by his dad. And it seemed to really, really bother him, and so he wanted to be the head honcho, and so even to the point of killing his brother. We're going to see with Jephthah, there's some similar situations there. It is interesting that people sometimes will blame the way they turn out based on their circumstances, and then you'll see somebody with almost identical circumstances who won't turn out that way. They'll turn out really good. Isn't that interesting? This goes to show, sometimes we can allow our circumstances to lead us down a bad path, but it doesn't have to be. We can choose to always do the right thing. Well, anyway, the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals and the Asherah. And the Baals, they were carved out of whatever. The Asherah, they were generally trees and stumps and stuff. The gods of Syria, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of Ammonites, and the gods of the Philistines. They all of them. And they forsook the Lord and did not serve him. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Philistines and the hand of the Ammonites, and they crushed and oppressed the people of Israel that year. For 18 years they oppressed all the people of Israel who were beyond Jordan and the land of Amorites, which is in Gilead. And the Ammonites crossed the Jordan. So now they've been impressing those on the east side, that Gilead that we was talking about. And now they've crossed over. The land of the Ammonites crossed over Jordan to fight against Judah and against Benjamin, against the house of Ephraim. So they basically are now oppressing, in essence, pretty much the vast majority, if not all, of Israel. So that Israel was severely distressed. And the people of Israel cried out to the Lord, saying, we have sinned against you because we have forsaken our God and served the Baals. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And the Lord said to the people of Israel, did I not save you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, and from the Ammonites, and from the Philistines, and the Sidonians, also, and the Amalekites, and the Maonites? I oppressed you, and you cried out to me, and I saved you out of their hand. Yet you have forsaken me and served other gods, therefore I will save you no more. I'm not going to do it anymore. Didn't I do this? And you go and cry out to the gods whom you have chosen. God said, you chose to worship these other guys, go cry out to them. I think sometimes, we wonder why things don't improve. Maybe, we pray to God, we want things to improve, and yet maybe we have our own little issues, our own little idols. Maybe it's our jobs, maybe it's our wealth, maybe it's our homes, maybe it's our cars, maybe it's our, whatever it may be, status in community. There are all kinds of crutches that we can develop ourselves. Anytime we place them before God, we create an idol. I think sometimes, we need to wonder about that. And so God said, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. Go cry out to your gods. See what they do. God David say, just let your own prosperity take care of you. You see, that doesn't work for you. Well, anyway, then it says, let them save you at the time of your distress. And the people of Israel said to the Lord, we have sinned. Do to us whatever seems good to you. Only please deliver us this day. So they, now you notice, anyway, it says, so they put away their foreign gods among them and served the Lord and became impatient over the misery of Israel. Repentance. Okay, you know what you do. Okay. A lot of people are sorry. In fact, you get a lot of people that say, God, if you'll just help me in this case, I'll turn and leave, whatever. And guess what? Things get better, they don't. They do. How many people do that?
You have to change.
You have to change. And so you notice I think the first cries out to God on this, I think they were more lip service. They realized how bad they had it. They said, God help us, we've messed up. And God said, well, go cry out to your gods you serve. And let them take you. But you notice they went farther, didn't they? What did they do? They put them away and served the Lord. They actually did repent. They were going the wrong way. They were serving idols, and they turned around and they started serving God. They put them away. And so they truly did repent. By the way, how can you judge if someone's repented or not?
Their actions.
Okay. Ultimately, it's their actions. How can God judge if someone's repented?
He can see their heart.
He can see their heart, yes. And so, it is something, John the Baptist used to say, bring meat or fruit, worthy of your repentance. In other words, someone that's truly repented, you should see a change. Someone that was an alcoholic that repents from that, you should see that they stop drinking. And then they have a moment where the weakness, but they in general, you'll see a track where they go away from that. They repent. They change. Their character changes. And so finally, these people have repented. And so then, now they're like, God, we're suffering. Then the Ammonites were called to arms and camped in Gilead, and the people of Israel came together. They camped in Mizpah, and the people of the leaders of Gilead said to one another, who is the man who will begin to fight against the Ammonites? He shall be head over the inhabitants of Gilead. Okay, who's going to be our leader? Who's going to be the one to lead us out? It's going to be Jephthah. Oh, I thought I had another slide there. Let's open my Bible now, Judges 10. it is going to be Jephthah, but there's a good story before we get to Jephthah. And actually, Judges 11. Now, Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior, but he was the son of a prostitute. What do we say about Abimelech? He was the son of a concubine. Not a whole lot different in one sense. But actually, if anything, you can say Jephthah's situation is even worse. Gilead was the father of Jephthah, and Gilead's wife also bore him sons. And when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You shall not have an inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." Okay? So Jephthah has a tough life, doesn't he? And so in one sense, you can see the parallel with Jephthah and with Abimelech in that they didn't live, they weren't raised by their father. They had to move out. The sons, his brothers said, "We don't want you inheriting this with us." Could have been Abimelech's brothers may have done something similar too at one time. Then Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. And worthless fellows collected around Jephthah and went out with him. Now, I find this interesting because where we at, there's some really low-quality people there. So, once again, you would think, if anything, this would tend to say Jephthah's going to get worse and worse as far as his association with God. After a time, the Ammonites made war against Israel, and when the Ammonites made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah from the land of Tob. And they said to Jephthah, "Come and be our leader, that we may fight with the Ammonites." They kicked him out and said, "We don't want you inherited this." But then years later they say, "Oh, you know Jephthah, he'd be a good one, wouldn't he? Let's go get him." What would be the tendency to tell them if you know, say you're Jephthah and these elders from Gilead come to you wanting you to be their leader? What would your reaction to them be? In essence, have said, "I'm not related to you. I'm not your kin. You know, you don't want me inheriting land. You kicked me out." Well, what does Jephthah do? But Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you're in distress?" And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "This is why we have turned to you now, that you may go with us and fight with the Ammonites and be our head over the inhabitants of Gilead." Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you bring me home again to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them over to me." You notice, even though he's in a place where there's a lot of worthless fellows, he hasn't lost his trust in the Lord. "I will be your head." He agrees to it. And there was good and said, "Jephthah, the Lord will be witness between us if we do not do as you say." So Jephthah went, and the elders of Gilead and the people made him head and leader over them, and Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord at him. We'll stop there. Our time's about up. What a contrast in Abimelech and Jephthah. And we're going to finish that. By the way, next week we'll get into, did Jephthah actually sacrifice to God? And I think some of it, you know, the people that generally on the line that he did actually sacrifice to generally are people who have a paradigm where God isn't really God. And I think if you know God and His character, what you come to the conclusion is that He didn't. And I think we can actually prove that He did not. But anyway, it's still a sad story, and so we'll continue that next week. Appreciate everyone being here.
Oh, that's fine. Well, what was weird, I went to look at it, the business working. And I'm not that good. I mean, I like, I'm interested.
I didn't know that.
But well, we don't know that's the next time. All right, Dad.
Well, welcome to our Wednesday night service. I don't really have any announcements. Steve's not able to be here tonight, so I think Jim's already mentioned some in a prayer, the Libby family and Michael as well. Others that maybe we're not aware of that we need to mention tonight. So just refer to the bulletin for the others. Wayne's going to have our devotional tonight. Chris, you've got some songs chosen? Okay. I'll have the opening prayer. Who would do the closing prayer for us? How about Tim? Thank you. All right, let's go to the Father in prayer. Our Father, we thank you for this day that you brought to us and set before us, and we pray that as we've gone through the day, that we have known that you're with us each step of the way. You guide us through your word, through the Spirit that you give us, and we thank you for your love and grace. We pray for those that we have mentioned, brought before you, that's on our minds, that are still struggling with illness. They're recovering from surgeries and various treatments, and still waiting to hear from test results and various things. And we pray your comfort upon each one. Pray, Father, that you would be with our young people, be with our sons and daughters who are away at college, and that they would be strengthened and encouraged each day and stay safe and from harm. Pray that you would be with Wayne as he brings us devotional tonight, be with Chris as he leads us in a few songs, and continue to guide us through the rest of this week. For in Jesus' name that we pray.
Look at your songbooks, number 791. 791. Amazing name. Those verses. On bended knee I come, with the humble your holy throne, lifting holy hands to you, as I pledge my love anew. I worship you in spirit 716. 716, Sing to Me of Heaven. And if you want to mark your songbook to number 939, that'll be our song after the Devo this evening, our song of invitation, 939. Step 16. Let's sing all three verses. Sing to me of heaven, sing that song of peace. From the doors that bind me, it will bring release. Burdens will be lifted that are pressing so. Showers of great blessing for my heart will flow. Sing to me of heaven, let me finally dream of its golden glory, of its pearly gleam. Sing to me when the shadows of the evening fall. Sing to me of heaven, sweetest song of all. Sing to me of heaven as I walk along, dreaming of the comrades that so long have gone. In a fairer region among the angels throng, they are happy as they sing that old sweet song. Sing to me of heaven, let me fondly dream of its golden glory, of its big gleam. Sing to me when shadows of the evening fall. Sing to me of heaven, sweetest song of all. Sing to me of heaven tenderly and low, till the shadows before me rise and swiftly go. When my heart is weary, when the day is long, sing to me of heaven, sing that old sweet song. Sing to me of heaven, let me fondly dream of its golden glory, of its pearly gleam. Sing to me when shadows of the evening fall. Sing to me of heaven, sing the sweetest song of all. Good evening.
Tammy can attest to last week, can't remember what part of the week it was, but I had a really crummy attitude. It was bad. Things that just work and a lot of stuff I thought about just dumped on me. Seemed like all at once, and it was not good. And I wasn't very pleasant. I get these emails every day from a place called Mikey's Funnies, and they're good, clean humor and stuff. Friday, I got this email with this poem, and I think after you hear it, you may agree with me. I think God may have been trying to get my attention a little bit. And when I saw it, I knew I had to use it as the basis for a Devo tonight. The title of the poem and the author is unknown. I couldn't find an author anywhere on the internet, searched it over. But the title of the poem is, I Wish You Mud Puddles and Dandelions. When I look at a patch of dandelions, I see a bunch of weeds that are going to take over my yard. My kids see flowers for mom and glowing white fluff you can wish on. When I look at an old drunk and he smiles at me, I see a smelly, dirty person who probably wants money, and I look away. My kids see someone smiling at them, and they smile back. When I hear music I love, I know I can't carry a tune, and I don't have much rhythm, so I sit self-consciously and listen. My kids feel the beat to it. They sing out the words. If they don't know them, they make up their own. When I feel the wind on my face, I brace myself against it. I feel it messing up my hair and pulling me back when I walk. My kids close their eyes, spread their arms, and fly until they fall down laughing. When I pray, I say thee and thou, and grant me this and give me that. My kids say, hi God, thanks for my toys and my friends. Please keep me tonight. Sorry, I don't want to go to heaven yet. I would miss Mommy and Daddy. When I see a mud puddle, I step around it. I see muddy shoes and dirty carpet. My kids sit in it. They see dams to build, rivers to cross, and worms to play with. I wonder if we are given kids to teach or to learn from. No wonder God loves little children. Enjoy the little things in life, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things. I wish you mud puddles and dandelions. I thought that was pretty cool. The poem is a reflection of two completely different perceptions. From child perception, they look for good in everything and usually find it. From an adult's perception, what is seen worst in everything. Which attitudes are we reflecting on a daily basis? I know we all have bad days, like I did last week, when our attitude is subpar or worse. But what about on an average day? God sent His Son to be a light in a dark world. If we are a believer in His Son, Jesus, we are to reflect the same light of hope, compassion, joy, forgiveness, and love. All too often, we are reflecting something other than Christ. Instead of reflecting Christ-centered qualities, what comes out is hurtful speech and actions. As believers, I think one of our most visible ministries is our attitude. And I mean our attitude all the time, and in public and at home with our family. Is everyone, especially our family, seeing God's love reflected in our behaviors and speech towards them? I came across this when I was looking for information. Okay. I also learned something. This is called an acrostic, I found out. This is an acrostic that a family counselor uses that I found. Think. And uses it to help couples communicate and work through their problems. It's based off of Ephesians 4. T, is it true? Paul says in Ephesians 4 that we need to lay aside all falsehood and speak truth. H, is it helpful? Our goal should be to help, not hinder. I, is it inspiring? Paul says our speech should edify, literally build up, not tear them down. N, is it necessary? Not every thought needs to be expressed. I have a problem with that sometimes. Paul says only to speak according to the need at the moment. K, is it kind? Even when confrontation is necessary, our words should communicate grace. Paul writes later, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ forgave you. Ephesians 4:32. William Penn once said, I expect to pass through this life but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now, and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again. What are we reflecting to our family and our friends and those that we meet every day? I'll leave you with these three things. No one is any better or any worse than anyone else. Everyone has an issue they're dealing with. Every act of kindness we show is a gift to those we show it to. We should look for the good in the world. It's out there. We don't see it a lot in the news and so forth. You have to look a little harder, but it's out there. Or better yet, we can be the good that's out there in the world. I appreciate your attention, time. I hope it's been a benefit to you. As always, we offer an invitation for anyone that needs anything, that you need more study. If you're ready to become a Christian, we can take care of that too. If you would stand as we sing.
Oh, do not let the word depart, and close thy eyes against the light. Poor sinner, heart and eye. Oh, why not tonight, not tonight, not tonight. Oh, why not tonight, not tonight, not tonight. Wilt thou be saved? Then why not tonight? Our blessed Lord refuses none who would to him their souls unite. Believe, obey, the work is done. Be saved, oh, tonight. Oh, why not tonight, not tonight, not tonight. Oh, why not tonight, not tonight, why not tonight. Wilt thou be saved? Then why not tonight?
Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful that you allowed us to gather here tonight, Father, and sing songs of praise, and Father, hear this positive message that has been brought to us tonight, Father. We know we all could use that sometimes whenever we are down. Father, we ask that you would bless those who are sick. Father, we know there are many. We ask that you would watch over and bless those who are undergoing tests and procedures, Father. There are many too. So we also ask that you would continue to bless all of us. Watch over us and guide us, Father. We take for granted so many things that you give us every day. We ask that you would go with us as we leave here tonight, Father. Guard us, guide us, and direct us. And most of all, forgive us for our sins. And thank you so much for Jesus. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.